Hello, friends, and welcome back to Cottage Crafts. If you're new here, my name is Carrie, and I'm so happy you found your way to my little corner of YouTube. If you've been following along over the last few videos, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back to spend a little time crafting with me. It truly does mean a lot, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm excited to share a birthday challenge I'm taking part in. This is for, it's called Crafting to Cope. That's the channel. I'll link it in the description box below. As soon as I heard the theme, my imagination started running. I pictured warm summer afternoons, fresh strawberries, vintage recipe boxes, and all those sweet little touches that make, cottage-style crafting so much fun. As I started planning everything, I wasn't thinking about creating individual pieces as much as I was creating an experience. I wanted everything to coordinate beautifully while still feeling collected rather than manufactured. My hope here was that each little surprise would bring a smile to the birthday girl's face. One of the things I love most about paper crafting is that it allows you to tell a story without saying a single word. Every layer, every bit of ink, every ribbon, every tiny embellishment adds another chapter. As I put this package together, I'll walk you through each project and share some of the techniques I used along the way. Hopefully you'll find an idea or two that inspires something in your own crafting. So pour yourself a cup of tea, settle in your favorite chair, and let's see what's going into this sweet strawberry-themed birthday package. The first thing I wanted to include was one of my favorite summertime treats. It's a strawberry refresher. This has become a little tradition around here whenever the weather starts to warm up. I thought it would be fun to tuck the recipe into the journal so the birthday girl could make it herself whenever she was in the mood for something sweet and refreshing. I always like including something that's both beautiful and useful. That way, it's more than just a decoration, it's something she can actually enjoy. I asked ChatGPT to help me turn my recipe into a printable vintage style recipe card, and I absolutely love how it came out. It has that old-fashioned recipe box feel, like something that could have been passed down through the generations. To make it even feel more authentic, I printed the front and back separately and glued them together. This extra step gives the card a little more weight and makes it feel much more like a traditional recipe card instead of just a sheet of paper. This is probably one of my favorite parts in the whole process. It's amazing how just a little bit of ink can completely transform a project. Those edges soften, and suddenly the card begins to look like it's been tucked into someone's recipe box for years. I like to build the ink up gradually, adding a little at a time until it has just the right amount of age. It gives the card warmth and character without looking overdone. It's often these little finishing touches that make the biggest difference. They don't take very long, but they help turn a simple printable into something that feels handmade and treasured. And that's really what I love most about creating Happy Mail. It's not just about the finished product. It's about creating little moments of joy for the person who is opening the envelope, one piece at a time. So you can see how I keep building the ink up here. I think it really looks a lot better with the ink spilling over onto the card itself. I like the way that effect gave it a really, truly vintage feel, you know. I went back to the other side and redid the other side the same way. The next thing I worked on was trimming out the cutter parts that would be included in the package. I decided not to fussy cut these out. Instead, I trimmed them into neat rectangles so that they would be ready for her to use right away. I thought that would give the birthday girl a little more flexibility. She can leave them just as they are, ink the edges, layer them onto tags or journal cards, or fussy cut them herself if that's the look she prefers. This collection includes a variety of strawberry images, along with some very sweet strawberry shortcake illustrations, giving her lots of different options to play with. I always like including a mix of styles because you never know exactly how someone is going to use them. Some might end up as journal tuck-ins, others could become pockets, clusters, tags, or even little focal points on a scrapbook page. That's one of the things I love about ephemera. There's no right or wrong way to use it. It simply becomes whatever inspires you in the moment. It's always fun putting together little collections like this. Even though they're simple, they offer so many creative possibilities. Sometimes it's the smallest pieces in the package that end up becoming your favorites. Just look at that sweet little face on that strawberry there. Cutest thing ever. And that jam jar, well, it's everything. Next, it was time to put together the pocket that would hold the recipe card. I started by cutting out all of the pieces with my paper trimmer. I always like to use the trimmer for the long straight cuts because it gives such a nice clean finish, you know. Next, I got my scoring board out and I wanted to score those lines, you know, where the 1/4 inch allowance is on the two sides that I wanted to glue down. It just makes it easier to fold. Okay, so here I'm just, giving them a perfunctory fold here, and now I'm just trimming up all of those little edges there, making it nice and neat. After all the pieces were cut out, it was time to decide how I wanted to assemble the pocket. I spent a few minutes looking at both options, trying to decide whether it would work better being glued to the front of the back piece or the back of the back piece. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes those little decisions seem simple, but they can really make a difference in how clean the finished project looks. So here I'm just rounding the corners, making everything neat, and so it gives it a nice finished look at the end of it. So here I'm still really trying to decide whether or not to glue it to the front or the back, and ultimately I end up gluing it to the back of the back piece. Just trimming up that final little piece there before gluing it into place. At this point, the pocket looked nice, but it still had that freshly printed look to it. So I brought out the ink again. And as soon as I started inking the edges, it gave a completely different feel to the piece. I love watching that transformation. The edges soften, the layers become more defined, and suddenly it feels like something that's been tucked into a well-loved journal for years. By the time I was finished, the pocket had exactly the cozy vintage feel I was hoping for, and it was ready to hold the recipe card inside. Now here I'm just assembling the little happy package here. So I've included the cutter parts and the pocket and the recipe. This is just some vellum that I had in my stash that I thought was absolutely beautiful, and I thought, hey, I've got enough, I can share it. So that's exactly what I'm doing, showing you the different images here. These are so pretty, really, really pretty. Popping that in the stash. Now here's I really did a bad job of filming this, and I have to apologize, but I'm still trying to figure out, how to get those get those images done properly, you know. It's only like my fourth video here. So, and here's just some, you know, different things that I found in my stash, some doilies, some, you know, die cut here. So I'll just package all of that up together. Now these are two frames that I made. I made them using the hot glue and the silicone molds, you know, and I just cut out an image to put in there, and I filled the image then with some glitter and glossy accents, right? I will put a tutorial up on how I did those soon. So, and then I just, I'm going to include just some bits and bobs that I have lying around. You know, if we all share our stash, we all end up with an incredible stash, right? This is another little pocket that I made here. It just has some little patches that, again, I just dug out of my stash. And I hope that she can use them. Happy little strawberry pieces. Then I made an ATC. I kept it very simple. Well, that's everything I'm sending along for this strawberry-themed birthday challenge. I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me as I put everything together. Thank you so much for spending a little time crafting with me today. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love if you'd give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss any future projects. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep creating, and I'll see you in the next video.